Welcome to another video from cardboardeast.com. My name's Jay. I play Asian board games and share what I find with all of you. Today we're going to talk about Blade Rondo. Now, the number one question I get since I started this channel last year is, how do I get board games from Asia? And Blade Rondo is going to be a little bit lucky today because it's going to be on GameFound as of right now when we publish this. So it should be on for most of the rest of April 2022. So if you're interested at all in this game, head over to the GameFound page and check out all the content there. Now you're going to ask, Jay, what is Blade Rondo? I have no idea what it is. Well, Blade Rondo comes from Japan, and Japan's a really weird market. While 10 years ago, the America and the European markets were all in love with Dominion and deck building just for some reason just did not catch on in Japan. Like they just, no, we like tile laying games. We love tile laying games, and there are a ton of tile laying games in Japan. But they love CCGs, collectible card games. And I think Blade Rondo is an answer to that. Blade Rondo is a dual deck system. Not a game, but an actual system. I'm going to explain a little bit what I mean there. Dual decking is basically, comes from Magic the Gathering. You've heard of Magic the Gathering, right? So instead of building your own decks, there's a dual deck case that has two decks. So two people can come in and play a game of Magic, and they don't have to build a deck. They don't have to design a deck and decide which cards there are. They just, here's my deck, this is your deck, we sit down and we play Magic. Really simple. And I don't know, there's maybe like hundreds of different dual decks out there. Blade Rondo is slightly different than that. It is just a dual deck system, and the game ends maybe like in 20 to 30 minutes. It's fast. It's lightning fast. Now, Jay, you mentioned Magic the Gathering dual decks. Why don't I just buy one of those instead of this? That is a good question, and I have an answer. Number one, this ends in 30 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes. It's fast, and this takes far less table space than a game of Magic can, because those games can get quite long and big and kind of table huggy. Jeez, table huggy, is that a word? Also, the art in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Wizards of the Coast does a really good job, especially over the last few decades, but the art on these cards is really fantastic. And if you like this anime style, then you're going to be in for a treat because the art on these cards is really fantastic. You're going to get this. I should have a box to show you, like this is Blade Rondo, this is the box. But instead, I only have this. And that's because this is all a print and play version. This is the English translation of the Japanese version. And there have been 5 versions of this, as in one base game and 4 standalone expansions. This publisher started off as a simple card game publisher, and then they exploded with Blade Rondo. And they've done one pretty much every single year. Even one year when they call it Bread Rondo, where you're like baking bread and fighting over bread for some reason, because why not? And now Japanime Games is going to take the first 5 Blade Rondo games and bring them all to the Western market, all translated into English. And I gotta say, I've been really impressed with the game. I like it. I like this game, and I recommend it. But I'm going to talk about some of the negatives really quickly. Pretty much you get everything you see here. You'll get like these 5 breath cards here. You'll get a stack of 40 sword cards. You'll get a stack of like 20 muse cards. And this is just for the solo game. So unlike the Magic Duel decks, you can't play those solos, but these you can. You also get like 2 little boards here. You'll have 6 dice each. You'll get D10s. I don't have any D10s. I have D8s and I have D12s, but why use a D10? I even have D4s for some reason. These are used to measure your stats. One's attack, one's defense, one is a voltage. Voltage is essentially your mana or your resource or your money in the game. And I think this is a really brilliant mechanic. And I think this is probably my favorite part of the game. Round 1, you have 1 voltage. Round 2, you have 2 voltage. And so on and so forth. Until round 9, and I've only gotten to round 9 once or twice. But when you get to round 9, then you'll have 9 voltage. And every round after that, you'll lose health instead of gaining more voltage. Why that's so cool? Well, because in Magic, they have something called mana screw. And when you draw in Magic, you basically have to draw your little mana cards and you can place them down, and then you have money to buy all the stuff and play all the cards that you want to play. But if you don't have any mana coming in, you're gonna get screwed, mana screwed. And it's really painful when that happens. And when you look down at the bottom of your deck and see all this mana there after you lose, that's painful. So the fact that this increases once every round, so round one, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and it kind of forces the power creep of the cards. Brilliant. And then speaking of the cards, is that there are 40 cards in here, and technically there are 20 times 2. And what's really interesting about that is that there is a slight drafting in how you begin the game. You'll take 15 cards and you'll choose 7. Only 7 cards, and those are the 7 cards you'll use for the entire duel. The other 8 get removed from the game, and the other 10 that you don't choose are removed from the game. Now what becomes interesting is that with those 7, you know after maybe 3 games, you'll be pretty familiar with all the cards in this deck. You'll have seen them, you'll play them, or have them played against you. And as you play the game, you are counting the cards that your opponent drafted. So you get into the mind space of your opponent. Like, okay, they have a Dark Blade. Oh, okay, they have the cost 2 heal 4 card. Oh, they have the 6/7. Okay, now I have to deal with that. And you slowly see how they might be going hard on physical attack, and then you can just raise your defense. And then, oh, this person's going into Magic. Well, I gotta have to heal and defend myself in other ways. And it has this great back and forth throughout the game. I love that balance where you have strategy where you're picking your 7, and that's kind of going to be your strategy as you play the game. But then you have to tactily respond to what your opponent's doing, or you will lose the game. I absolutely love that back and forth. I recommend that if you do get this game, don't get it for the game, get it for the system, because why stop at 1? I'm so curious to know what the other 4 play like. I've been wanting to play this game for a few years now, and I'm really happy that I finally have access to the English translation of the cards, so now I can play the game. Now I'm really curious how the other 4 standalone expansions work. I've been told that there are different mechanics for each of the cards, and some of the solo decks are all different. So each of the 4 standalone expansions have a different Muse deck. Now these are 20 unique cards, and every time you play, you'll just have to defeat 5 monsters, and once you're done, you're done. But each standalone box contains a different solo deck. So if you really like having this solo experience of solo card play, then this is something that you definitely want to look into. Negatives. I promise negatives, but I didn't talk about it. These boards are just kind of, man, they're kind of low budget, and I kind of wish that they looked a little bit nicer. Now, granted, these are very functional and it's very clear, and when you play the game, it's basically like this, where you could see my stats and I can see your stats. The biggest problem I have is that I see that life is basically 15. I don't know why they didn't have like a D20 or just have it all be dice for some reason. Why not just do that? And then you don't really need this, or maybe you don't. I found this to be kind of weird. I use these little tokens from Arkham Horror for the playthrough for the life meter. I believe in the game they're going to be like this cute little transparent glass crystal, so it looks a little bit nicer as it's sliding down here on this checkerboard life track. So this I wasn't too impressed with. The dice, they are functional. They do work very well. When you play a 2-player game, it's very clear. Everyone's stats are there. But I've been really impressed with this game overall. And if you ask me if I recommend it, I definitely recommend this game. I think it's definitely worth owning and exploring. If you really like dual deck games, if you really love the anime style of art, then this is definitely something I think that should be in your wheelhouse. Now, you could get 1 for a pledge, and I think you can get all 5 completely translated in the upcoming GameFound campaign. Now, I believe the original Japanese publisher, they're releasing a brand new Blade Rondo this year. I don't know if the GameFound campaign is going to include that one or not. Let's talk about the rulebook. The rulebook I do have a little bit of problems with. It is understandable. I could read it and I knew how to play the game. I think the first time I played, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I think there could have been a few more pages to be really explicit of like, don't do this, do this, and just have a few more examples. For any card game like this, especially with a card pool as small as this, I really would have preferred that they had maybe 3 or 4 pages that talk about every individual card in this game. I think that would have just been really nice, and I think that would have definitely been helpful. So if you have a question about one particular card, open up the book and then you go to that card and it tells you what those common questions are. I had a few questions on the translations of the Muse cards that I was kind of confused about. I didn't include them in the playthrough video, which you saw earlier, right? You saw that earlier. I'm not sure how to answer those. And again, that could have been done like in the rule book. I have an extra few pages talking about every single card in the game. So you don't have any questions about anything ever. Other than the rules and these, I guess, less flashy player boards, that's the only thing I have against the game. The other thing is that the font on these cards is quite small, and I'm not a big fan of that. Now, I kind of prefer that, I guess, for cards, like once you go below font, a 10 size font, it gets a little hard. And I kind of wish that they were a little bit better about that. Now, this is not the actual size of the card. This is shrunk a little bit. They're going to be, I guess, the standard Magic side, and they're not going to have this bleed, which you see here. It's going to be fully flushed, black bordered all around the card. So please take what I say with a grain of salt, because I haven't seen the final product. But what I see here is fine. The only problem is I believe that their Magic attacks use a blue font, and the blue font on the black background, yeah, is not as easy to read. Sometimes you have to pick up the card and kind of angle it towards the light, and that's just, yeah, it's just not ideal for me. I really hope that they look into that and answer that question. While the black background is really cool and it really focuses all the attention on the art, and the art is amazing, it does make some of the font hard to read, and that can be a problem. Like I said, just the blue font on the black background is problematic, but most of the font is white. The white font is no problem. The red and the blue is a little tricky. The cards do have suits, red, blue, gambit, and green, but maybe it's just my sleeves. I'm a little bit of a snob. I like matted sleeves because I usually play under fluorescents and it's just a lot easier for me to read. But with these and the muted colors, at least for the printed ones, and I printed these out like at 7-Eleven. This is just super cheap, thin paper. So there's going to be nicer quality, but some of the suits were harder to read, and I wish that these colors were just, I guess, just brighter, like a really bright green or a really bright red or a really bright blue. I would have really appreciated that. There is variety in the cards. I really like that. There are some that attack. There are some that defend. There are magic attacks. There are cards where you could summon a beast, and the beast is always there. There's magic that affects you. There's magic that affects your opponent. I like the fact that there are cards that you place face down on your turn that you could respond to your enemy's future attacks. And I think that is really interesting. Like, if they don't attack, well, then it comes back to my hand. If they do attack, then if it's the right suit, then I could use it, and then this card will be removed from the match. I really like that bluffing. Like, everything I love about card games condensed into 30 minutes. It has bluffing, it has deck building, it has a tactical response against your opponent. So there is a lot going on that I really, really approve of in this game. And it's only 30 minutes, and it doesn't take up much table space. I think I've ranted and raved enough, right? Anyway, guys, if you like this game, go to the GameFound. It's live now, and it should be live until April 28th of 2022, and that will answer more of your questions. As for me, I give this 2 thumbs up. I myself am excited about this campaign because I'm really curious to see what the stretch goals are, if there are stretch goals, if they're going to get the 6th Blade Rondo game out. I just really want to try. I've only played the base game. I want to see what, expansion 2, 3, and 4 have to offer. Can you mix cards? Can you not? I just have so many questions that I want to know about. 2 thumbs up from Cardboard East. Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Once again, please like, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. If you really want to help us grow, please consider supporting us on our Patreon, which goes on all year round. We have 5 Patreons right now, and mwah!